From 12 News, this is Newsmakers.
Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. Ted Nesi is off this week, so I'm joined by my Target 12 colleague, Steph Machado. And our guest this week is Providence City Council President John Igliozzi. Council President, good to see you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start with crime. While overall violent crime is down in Providence, shootings and homicides are not. There have been more homicides this year than in the last dozen, 20 so far. What do you think's happening?
What I think's happening is the city of Providence is falling down on the job, protecting its constituents and the people of Providence.
Is that an indictment of the rank and order of the police department?
No, it's an indictment of the administration's inability to get academies up and out. For the past 4 years, the city council has funded police academies every year, and we've had to pull tooth and nail to get the administration to get academies going. As you know, we have one academy going to be graduating this December, and we're putting all the pressure we can on the administration to get another academy starting now. Just so you get a sense, when I first came on, I had about 500 police officers. We had community policing, we had patrols, we had bike patrols. People felt safe, they felt secure. They had a lot there was a lot of continuity between the police department and the people they serve. We're down to 374. You don't have enough officers to do those types of jobs.
Where should the number be?
The number should be anywhere at least 450 to 500.
But Council President, the chief has said that more police officers does not mean less crime. So what other changes need to be made to decrease the crime in the city?
Well, actually, more police officers equal community policing. We need to bring it back. We need to create the connection again, make the officers part of the fabric of the communities throughout the city. They need to create that empathy between the police department and the people they serve.
Did community policing really go away, though? I've heard you say that before. I mean, did it?
It's still the model that they're using.
It's a model, but there's no people in that model. The problem is you don't have people walking Pocasset Avenue anymore. You don't have officers on bike patrols in all the different neighborhoods. It's quite obvious, by the way. As you know, recently we heard they have officers working the pedestrian bridge in downtown Providence. They have a pedestrian officers there, but no officers in our neighborhoods. There's a disconnect going on. So we're protecting a piece of property, but meanwhile we're not protecting the lives of people of Providence.
What's happening with the effort to divert some of the calls, for example, mental health, substance abuse, to other social service agencies so that the police officers can focus on the more violent crime calls that they get?
Well, let's talk about that. Actually, for the past 15 years, the city of Providence has invested in that. We have a social service component, and we've done it for 15 plus years, and the council has funded it and continues to fund it. And in fact, this year's budget, we funded even more money to expand that. You know, it has to be a combination of both, right? The bottom line is, you know, public safety is a priority for the city of Providence, for the people that live here, and also the people who visit here, right? It's the first thing. Second thing is the social component's important. But the reality is, the types of calls Providence police officers are getting aren't necessarily social service calls.
Well, there are a lot of mental health incident calls. I've done some reporting on that, and they're called MHIs, and they are way up. To Steph's point, would these diversion programs, expanding them even further than maybe you have put in the most recent budget, be helpful for these MHI
there's no
calls?
doubt about it. We definitely support the expansion of it because we know it works. It's been working for the past 15 years. Family Services has been doing the GO team, and it works. It has a positive impact. And they even testified it works. But they also said that on some of these calls, they want to make sure an officer is there with them because let's call it like it is. When you're dealing with people's mental health out in the city, it can get really serious and go bad really quick and really fast. And a social service worker doesn't have the tool set to handle those types of, let's call it, situations when it goes bad. So they want an officer to be like a component. You have the officer show, the social service person show up. If the social service person can deal with it, then the officer can, you know, go on to another call. But meanwhile, the social service person can now address it and hopefully solve the issue there. If not, the police officer can help them with that process.
So the city has created a new position that was going to be a police major. Now it's a civilian to address community relations and lead the efforts on diversion. Michael Stevens was hired for that job. The council decided to amend that job so it was a civilian job because he's not a police officer. And in doing that, you decreased the salary for the job. Which I believe the Igliozzi administration disagrees with. Is that still under discussion to potentially raise the salary for that job, or do you think Michael Stevens should be the person who gets that job?
Let's talk about it. First of all, when we originally went on this journey, the whole purpose was to have a police major get promoted, an officer in lower rank get promoted, promotion opportunity, and to create a connection between the community and the police department and create the empathy that we need all the time, by the way. It should be a constant conversation, right? Creating empathy between the police department and the community should always be a constant story, constant communication, but also being part of the fabric of each other's lives, right? So we all agreed to do that. It was the mayor and his people chose to let's call it what it is, want to hire the rec director to become a police major, which, by the way, is totally irresponsible. And we cannot stand for that. What's next? We're going to hire the janitor to be the next chief of police? You cannot have people who do not have the credentials, the education, or the ability, and hand them a gun and a badge and say you're an honorary police officer. This is just irresponsible. So the council had to take action, and we did. So now what we did is this. We've amended the budget. In fact, tonight we'll be passing it. We maintain the police major position, standalone. If the chief and the commissioner wants to promote another officer, there's another opportunity for that.
Did you fund that 5th police major?
Yes, we did. And then the second piece is we created a truly civilian position, which is going to be a civilian, if you want to call, liaison individual who's going to help bridge the gap.
Same responsibilities, though, Council President.
Different responsibilities.
Well, so
different responsibilities because the fundamental difference is a police officer is a police officer who has a gun and a badge and dispenses justice and protects and serves.
So you lowered the salary because...
This is a civilian position, which is about creating a liaison between the community and the police department. We lower the salary, didn't lower the salary. It's
right,
commensurate.
The goal
police
of the
major,
job remains the same, but you did change the responsibilities.
Fundamental responsibility is not there. Whoever gets a civilian job will not be a police officer, nor have the duty or the responsibilities of a police officer. We need to take that serious.
I guess my point is this. If by lowering the salary from what it was originally proposed, are you saying in some way the city council doesn't value that, what their responsibility is as much? Yeah, they're not a major, they don't have a badge, they don't have a gun. You lowered the salary for someone who's supposed to be that liaison that you said was so important in the community.
Correct. But actually, I view it the other way. I highly value the police major position. That's how I look at it. The bottom line is there is a fundamental difference between a police major in the Providence Police Department and a civilian position in the police department. And we need to have that distinguished. Now let's say something else. This is not something like the pay is low. We're talking about this pay goes up to $127,000. Sure. Yep. Just so you know, I know majority of my constituents would love to have that civilian job. At that kind of money, most of them work 2 or 3 jobs and just try to make ends meet. So it's not like we're paying this person something nominal. We're paying a substantial amount of money with pension, health care benefits, and it's a permanent position.
Let me shift gears here. Providence is receiving $166 million in American Rescue Plan Act money, ARPA. The city has already used the most of any municipality that our colleague Ted Nisi surveyed in the region at $43 million. Part of that money, $7 million, was rushed through your council, avoiding the normal public input to provide small businesses with individual relief checks of $2,500. Despite the council saying it's so urgent, do you know how much money of that has gone out?
At this time, I know the program's being put together. In fact, I just was briefed the other day.
So the answer is zero.
So the answer is zero.
Right.
And because they're creating a program so the businesses can have access to it, because they had to create a system to do it, because you just don't send out checks. It's a process where they have to submit, apply.
Was the council aware that the system had to be put in place and would take an extra amount of time when it decided to rush through the funding?
Of course it is. I mean, because any time you're dealing with federal or state dollars or city dollars, you have to be responsible on how you dispense them. So they put together this, I just got briefed the other day, this wonderful, what do you call it, internet system program, where the individuals will be able to go onto the system, apply for, and give all the appropriate background and information, so you make sure you do get the check to the right individual and businesses. Because you just don't want to mail out checks, and then all of a sudden you have a problem where people who should get checks don't, people who shouldn't do.
So when is that money expected to be actually in the hands of small businesses?
My impression is the system's going to go live in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then there'll be a big promotion and a big, process to let the public know about it, and then hopefully within a month.
We're still talking about a lot of money left on the table. I'm just curious how would Council President John Igliozzi want to spend that money? What is the #1 need for the city where that money could be helpful?
number one need, there's a lot of needs, but, we need to deal with the building blocks of the city, the short-term needs, long-term needs, right? City's finances is a priority right now. As you know, I'm sure you're well aware of, we used some of this money already to balance last year's budget, this year's budget, and we're using some of it for next year's budget. So we still have a massive revenue shortfall, right? So the next term, the next mayor, whoever that person is going to have to deal with that shortfall. And hopefully revenues and the economy starts turning around. So that's hopefully a goal. Second, you need to be very judicious and responsible with that money. You can't just spend it and just do like one-off types of programs. I think you need to focus in on the financial foundations, making sure the building blocks of the city is working, whether it's making sure the revenue loss, making sure if we can shore up the pension system, ideas.
Which this money cannot be used for.
No, but you can do a couple things, right? Which is, for example, let's say we use money to buy this with, we're going to buy money. We're going to buy 10 fire trucks. Instead, we use that money to go
into the
pension, and then instead I use the money to buy 10 fire trucks. So there's a path. I'm not saying it's perfect, but there is a way, and therefore I can actually then help shore up the pension system, for example. So there's ways in which we can do certain things. We haven't gone through all of them, but the city's finances should be number one, public safety, security, and also making sure the quality of life issues in the city are addressed with this money, and also, by the way, what I call affordable housing.
Do you anticipate adopting the recommendations of this COVID task force that's been meeting every Friday to come up with a plan for this ARPA money?
I don't know if adopt. They're supposedly going to come with recommendations, and then the council will then deliberate and decide which ones make sense. One of the biggest concerns we have is we don't want them to. I know they were getting a lot of pressure from all these little small groups and stuff like that. Looking for a quick fix, quick money, but we need to be very judicious with this money. We need to be very financially responsible. So we have this largesse of money, so we should try to do everything we can to try to fix some of the systemic financial problems of the city with the money, so this way we can protect the future of the city.
I mean, you did decide to give some of it to Waterfire amid a lot of public pressure and from that organization saying they might collapse if they don't get more money. You might hear a lot of organizations saying, we need this money and fighting for your attention. Do you not intend to give grants, individual grants like that?
No, I think one of the things that's a valid point. In Waterfire, for example, the COVID money is used for that type of situation. And it was important to try to kickstart the city, right? We need to do that. Second, I think we're going to try to put a certain portion on the side to allow that grant process to happen, but not the largesse of it. So there'll be a process where certain money will be available, businesses will apply, or certain organizations, and they have to explain why. We just don't want people just getting a check. It's like show that there's a what's going on with it. COVID really had an impact. What was the impact, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to get fleshed out.
You said it in an earlier answer. Whoever's going to be the next mayor, are you considering a run for mayor? Could that be you?
Well, first of all, I have to be thankful that I've been able to serve this long. I've been a public servant for a long time. And I'm really grateful for my constituents and my family and friends who supported me over the years. I see on the horizon a lot of opportunities, whether it's citywide or statewide. So right now I'm working with my advisors and especially my family and determining what's the best path forward for me and
So is that a yes? You're considering it? You're kicking the tires on a run for mayor?
Everything's on the table.
How likely is it that you run for state rep? There's been discussion about perhaps Rep Perez would run for your city council seat, which, if our viewers don't know, you cannot run for again because you're term limited. Would you run for Rep Perez's seat?
No, I think right now we're leaning towards either city or statewide. I think we have an opportunity and we have a lot to offer to the people of Providence and the people of the state of Rhode Island, and see if potential candidacy makes sense to them.
What statewide seat would you run for?
Well, there's several open right now, so there's all different kinds.
Okay.
So I'll leave it at that. So definitely everything's on the table, and I'm excited about the possibility, but I'm also have to make sure the public is excited about the possibility.
We have a couple minutes left, I believe. I'm curious if you think the state takeover of the Providence schools has been a failure.
No, I think actually you have to give it a chance. You have to get an opportunity. It took decades to get us in where we are with the school system, and it's going to take a good 5-10 year plan to get us out of it.
There have been calls, as you know, for the city to take back control. Where do you land on that?
I think that's just being irresponsible at this time. The city
city
has failed. The city can't do it. Doesn't have the ability. It doesn't have the political will. Doesn't have the skill set. Let the state give them the support, give them the opportunity to turn it around. And let me say, at the end of the day, we need to start focusing on, doesn't matter if it's the city or the state, the kids need to get a good education, and they're not. We are failing these kids, and we need to give this support to the state right now to help turn it around. We need to stop bickering and help these kids.
Well, you say stop bickering. There's a lawsuit now between the mayor and the city council sued the state over funding because the city's been level funding the school department. Should the city be giving more money to the schools to turn them around?
Well, let's talk about, first of all, actually I want to say it's a unilateral case on the administration's part. They never briefed or informed.
But isn't the city council listed as a plaintiff?
The city council's a plaintiff. Are you saying you were unaware?
We were unaware, no, we were briefed.
So you didn't know prior to the complaint being filed that the city council was going to be a plaintiff on this?
I can tell you that I was never aware of it.
Are you going to withdraw the city council from the suit?
I was never aware or briefed on it. So now I'm waiting to hear from the city solicitor to tell me what our options and see what the council. But right now, I think that's what they went. But let me flip back to what you said about, which is the where do we go from there? I think you said, right?
Yeah. Well, should the city be giving more money to the school department?
Well, I think a few of the conversations I've had with the school system is that I'm not necessarily opposed to giving them more money, but I want to see, like, for example, one of the initiatives we're doing right now in the city council is that we're bringing free Wi-Fi to all our parks and recreational centers. So one of the things that I realized is that we need to have that kind of system in our school systems. The kids in our neighborhoods have a need. Wi-Fi is important. I know it sounds, but it really is. Has access to education. So one of the things I bandied about was, say, listen, I'm willing to look towards giving you more money, but can you guarantee me that you will bring free Wi-Fi to all the kids in the school system?
But you don't get to say how the money's spent anymore because the state took over.
No, but every year they do have to ask us for a check and money, right? So I view it as we need to be advocates together and avoid being adversarial. So you have to listen. You have to turn the corner. At the end of the day, you got to stop the bickering. You got to be advocates for the kids. And I'm just using an example. School system. I'm not necessarily against giving them more money. Show me where you want to spend it. I'm just giving suggestions on maybe a path forward. That's by the way, that's what being a pragmatic approach to governing is, right? Not governing through social media, trying to find a compromise, trying to find a path forward that benefits, in this case, the children. Not the city, not the state. These children, they need the benefit. We need to do everything to help them.
All right, City Council President John Igliozzi, unfortunately, we have to go. Thank you very much for joining us. When we come back, Target 12 investigator Eli Sherman joins us for a Reporters Roundtable. Stay with us. You're watching Newsmakers.
I don't think you did anything illegal. Do I think it was some bad judgment? I gotta tell you, yeah, I do. I'd be lying to say otherwise. I mean, there's just no way I can put lipstick on this one.
That is the chairwoman of the House Oversight Committee, State Rep Patricia Serpa, during one of the several hearings looking into a controversial state contract awarded to a politically connected consulting firm. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White, alongside Target 12 investigator Steph Machado and our colleague Eli Sherman. Hi, Eli. Welcome back. Let's start with ILO Group. I like to say 2.5 hearings were held this week on that state contract worth up to $5.2 million that ILO Group landed. There are questions from lawmakers, as we heard, as to whether they had the fast-track to that contract and circumvented the normal bidding process. Senate oversight hearings on Monday, House on Tuesday, and then even the Senate Finance Committee got asked a few questions about it. That's why I say there were 2.5. What did we learn from the hearings?
Yeah, well, just to start, it was like 6 hours of hearings just between the Senate and the House.
You're welcome.
Yeah, focused entirely on this contract. And, you know, lawmakers are really interested, especially on the Senate side on the first day, of looking at this Zoom meeting that happened on March 5th. And I'll take you back. The governor took office on March 2nd. The ILO group, the one that we're talking about today, that incorporated on March 4th. March 5th, the governor called a Zoom meeting, and he invited, among the people that were there, were the managing partner and co-founder of ILO, Julia Raffel-Bear. She was invited, as was her boss, a man named Mike McGee, who's the CEO of a nonprofit called Chiefs for Change.
And we should say not boss at ILO Group. He does not work for ILO Group. It's the nonprofit Chiefs for Change.
And at the time, Julia Raffel-Bear was working for Mike McGee. And then the governor also invited a couple of state purchasing people who oversee contracting for all state contracts in Rhode Island. Now, I should mention that Julia Rafflebear didn't end up attending that meeting, but we found out through testimony that during this meeting, the idea for this RFP process, this request for bids to work on this contract that ultimately went to the ILO group, was discussed during that Zoom meeting. And that, frankly, didn't sit well with a lot of lawmakers because, as you mentioned off the top, they were concerned that perhaps because this information was shared, because the idea for this was created there, that somehow that information got back to the ILO group people and they had sort of a head start, if you will, on trying to secure this work.
Yeah, at best, I think what lawmakers were getting at from what we watched was it just reinforced how unusual the process was, because it eventually the normal bidding process, procurement process, ended, and the company was entered onto what's called a master price agreement, which is all very thick and nebulous, but it was an unusual process throughout. And it did seem like, to me, anyway, my takeaway, I don't know if you agree, that the lawmakers are really energized for these hearings.
Yeah, all of us have watched a lot of legislative hearings. Too many. And sometimes, there can be varying levels of preparedness from the lawmakers. For whatever reason, they may have a lot of different things going on. It may be special to one or two of them who are really ready. I was really struck by how well prepared so many of them were on this topic. They had really done their homework. They looked into a lot of the underlying issues. And as you said, they were very energized, had a lot of questions. I should mention that representing the McKee administration were Jim Thorson. He was one of the people that was at that March 5th meeting. He's the head of the Department of Administration, along with his chief legal counsel, Dan Major. And they were at both. And then a third person, the head of purchasing, Nancy McIntyre, was at the Senate legislative hearing.
So no one from the governor's office?
Nobody from the governor's office.
Nor ILO group.
Nor ILO group, nor RIDE. And it should be mentioned that the ILO group ultimately was hired to help on education initiatives, reopening schools, along with advancing some of these municipal education programs, which is a project that's close to the governor, and but none of those people were there to answer any of the underlying questions about what it is that this contractor is doing today. And that, again, did not sit well with a lot of lawmakers who felt like the answers were deflecting, or the people from the administration could not answer some of their basic questions.
All right, I might come back with another ILO question for you, Eli, but Steph, first, an important election in Senate District 3 in Providence this week. Sam Zurier, who's a former city councilman, won the primary. He will face off against Republican Alex Cannon in the general, but it's been widely viewed that the primary was the most important part of this election. What does it say about Senate District 3 that Zurier emerged as the winner here?
Yeah, I mean, this was a race that had 5 credible candidates who all had some kind of public service experience. Some of them were new to politics, though, and there's been a lot of talk after the results saying that 2 of the more progressive candidates may have split a certain percentage of the vote. But look, Sam Zurier is a well-known, good name recognition. He was a city councilman for 8 years in Ward 2, which was one of 3 wards in the Senate district, and the turnout was very high in Ward 2, which is where which is the area that he represented. He was popular and well known for a weekly newsletter.
I got to put you on the spot there. What is high turnout for this type of vote? What are we talking about?
Total, there were 4,055 votes in this Senate district race, which is an astounding number for a special election in a Senate district. It's higher than that, than the primary for that Gail Golden won in 2012, which was the last time the seat was open without an incumbent. So very high turnout for a special election. I have covered a number of city special elections lately that have had abysmal turnout because it's hard to get people to the polls when it's not a regular election day with other stuff on the ballot. So high turnout was a major factor here, but Sam Zurier has mentioned himself, he still won with about 30% of the vote because it was a 5-way race. He did not get a majority, and he said that's not a mandate, and he says he wants to hear from the other candidates and the people who didn't vote for him as he moves forward He does have to win the general election, but it's a heavily left-leaning district, so the assumption is that the Democrat is heavily favored.
Yeah, one thing I'd add too, just about that part of town, is that there are a lot of expensive homes on the east side of Providence, and so there's a lot of taxes that get charged over there. Zurier is someone who, over the years, has spoke very intelligently about the city's finances problems, its pensions woes, and I think that resonated probably with a lot of voters as well.
And just to note, if he wins the general election, he is only going to be in this job for a year before he would need to run again in 2022. And the political co-op, one of the progressive candidates, Gina Pham, made it pretty clear. She said, "I'm not going anywhere," and so this might be a one-year job interview for him, and there could be a rematch of some or all of these candidates next year.
30 seconds left here. Steph, you had an interesting report about how 86% of city employees are vaccinated. That excluded the police department, which is sort of an important department. When are we going to know their numbers? Do you have any idea?
Possibly by the end of this week, but the police department did not start actually collecting the vaccination records of their officers until this week, despite the deadline being last Friday, because the union was trying to negotiate some of the details around this new policy that says you must be vaccinated, and if you're not, you have to get a weekly COVID test. So hopefully we'll have those soon. And those stories are on WPRI.com. Get caught up on the ILO hearings there as well. For Eli Sherman and Steph Machado, I'm Tim White. We'll see you next week on Newsmakers.